Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyard channel. My name is Charisma and today we're meeting in the backyard and we're going to talk about garden goals 2024 versus 2025, and they're not going to be that much different. I really just want to expand on what I focused on last year and keep making the garden even more efficient to work in, to play in, and to relax in. So I'm going to start back here. We'll walk our way through the garden into the front yard and just talk about the things I had hoped to get done, what I did get done, and what I hope to expand on this year. The first thing that I wanted to focus on this past year was irrigation. And we bought this HoseLink hose for Christmas in 2023, but we really used it all year long in 2024. I love it. It's amazing. It reaches all the way into the back of the garden. I'm filming this the weekend before New Year, so we still have some Christmas stuff up. They're coming down this weekend. So excuse the Christmas decorations you'll see a lot in this video. Anyhow, so irrigation, this was the only piece of irrigation that we added to the backyard last year. This year, I really want to focus on adding timers and drip irrigation systems. So we have a water spigot right there. I want to bring water over here, get drip irrigation on this container. This one doesn't really live here. These are my naked ladies that are starting to sprout, so I pulled them out of the garage. But I want to put drip irrigation on this container and drip irrigation on these containers here. And then with a splitter, I'm going to pull water out over to this garden space, and I want to put drip irrigation in this bed, this container, this raised bed, and this container, as well as the containers flanking the greenhouse doorway. Then we'll put a PVC pipe and just take it all the way to the back of the garden. And I want to put a soaker hose on my greenhouse, a soaker hose on my raspberry patch, and then bring water up into this raised bed and do drip irrigation in the raised bed. So that's my goal back here. I'll back up a little bit. On a third hose situation, I am going to bring water into this bed, and we're going to do a soaker hose that just kind of goes in a spiral, caring for all the hellebore and the maple tree, and splitting off, doing some drip irrigation in these little raised beds back here. We're going to be planting these with hostas next year, and then another round of drip irrigation back here for the kaffir lilies, the butterfly bush, provided we keep it, and all of the perennials that are in here. We have a camellia evergreen and crocosmia. Now the crocosmia are natives, but if we keep water on them in a consistent fashion, they will be stronger and not flop over. Everything else will not be on drip, so we will be hand watering these three containers, the honeysuckle, all of these little containers, any container that is outside the scope of easy irrigation. Coming back over here, we've removed our butterfly garden, so we don't need to worry about watering that, but we will be replacing the butterfly garden and creating a garden bed along underneath these rhododendrons. That will all have to be watered, and we'll have to make a decision about how we want to water those. The moon garden will also not be irrigated. It will all be hand watered because most of this is in shade, and you really have to just kind of put your hand in the soil and make a decision about whether or not it needs water at the time that you're out here watering. The hose reaches really easily, and it's in a strange shape, so trying to get irrigation done on all the spots is just not as easy and practical. And we will also be hand watering around the pond, and we'll have duck boxes, and the duck box that's below the deck will all get hand watered. Another thing that I wanted to work on in 2024 was winter interest. And in this garden, really the only thing that we did is we added some Skimmia plants into containers as far as winter interest goes. So this is the male Skimmia, and it has these little kind of berry flower things. And then this one is the female, and she has big, bright red berries on them. And these are their first year, so they're not like crazy prolific, but that's my winter interest back here. We used to have a large birch tree that had bright white trunks right here, and I do miss having some white trunk action going on for the winter. So I am considering removing that butterfly bush and replacing it with some sort of deciduous tree that has a white trunk or a blue cypress of some sort. Something that's white or blue because we just have so much green everywhere. I just want some icy winter interest back here. All right, let's get out of the backyard and go look in another garden space at some other areas of interest so that we can continue on with our goals and our achievements. All right, so we were in the backyard coming out to the back part of our property. One of my goals was to move our compost. It did not get done, and now it's like desperately needing to be done because the pallet forms are falling apart. I did want to start creating some privacy between that house and ours, and I planted out 3 Escallonia. I want to continue planting Escallonia along this space and creating a privacy hedge. We had hoped to rebuild this shed structure. Spencer and I decided that it would be worth our time and money to wait and buy a prefabricated or have my dad build a full shed that's enclosed with windows and shelving and all that stuff. So we're actually, instead of just making this a little bit better, we're going to have a shed that covers from the full length of our garage, the backside of our garage, and everything in here will be stored safely and out of the rain and all that. And it'll look nicer. It'll look much more tidy. And even if the inside looks kind of messy like this, at least when you're standing out here, you won't look at it. So that's my goal there. And then we will be moving our compost. I want it to start here and go back because I don't really want it behind this rain tree. We started this compost before we planted the rain tree. And now I just don't want to have to like sneak behind the rain tree every time I want to get into the compost. It makes it very difficult to turn. It makes it difficult to get into. So that is kind of our goals back here. Winter interest back here, we're not really worried about because we're not walking back here much. And as you can see, it's very green and lush. So kind of holds its own as far as winter interest goes. We don't really need irrigation back here. We don't ever water back here. And all these ferns and all this Gaultheria seem to be perfectly happy without us helping. My 2025 goal back here, though, is to remove this shrub. This entire thing is going to come down, which is going to be a huge transformative change to what this space looks like. It creates tons of privacy from the backyard to these people's spaces, but she's failing horribly, and it's time to take her down. So we will be removing that. And then continuing on, eventually we'll have winter interest here because we do have a bank of hydrangeas, and you can see that they have these beautiful, you know, a little bit of winter interest. They'll be more substantial in future years. I need to limb up some of these evergreens that get super heavy with rain. And this is when I'm able to tell who needs to be limbed up because it's so full of rain and water. We did add a sprinkler irrigation. I did not bury the hose. That's something that I want to do. But the sprinkler was working out really great for this entire space. So we're gonna leave that as is. We're just gonna bury the hose so it looks a little bit nicer. One of the things that I did not get to do is work in this creek area, which I started to do in 2023. I was really excited about it. And then we totally dropped the ball this year. So, as you can see, we have a creek down here. It's flowing pretty good right now in the winter time. But I need to get in here and remove any blackberry canes. Look at this thing. Okay. I need to remove those. I need to remove anything around the yellow twig dogwood so they could really grow up and shine. This willow has grown a ton, but there's blackberry growing through it, so I need to get that out of there. You know, just like all those types of things. I just need to clean up the creek and remove the invasives and add more plants that are a positive impact to the space. And that is something that is super important to me this year. Like, I just really want that creek to just be really beautiful space. And I mean, I wish I could just hire Aquascape to just come in and completely redo my entire natural creek. Can you imagine the beauty that they would do and how quickly? I mean, they'd take like 2 days and just make this whole creek just something magical. But I'm gonna just try to do it myself. And the first thing I have to do is remove all the invasives and sort of like just drag a rake through the creek so that all the sludge and the extra leaves and everything can just kind of get moved out of there, so it doesn't get so high that the creek doesn't flow, if that makes sense. But also being very mindful of the fact that we have frogs and salamanders and other, you know, little creatures that are living in there, and I don't want to disturb their habitat too much. So we want to do it all in a gentle manner, and certainly an organic manner. I'm not spraying any of that stuff. As far as like blackberries and stuff like that, it's just going to have to be a constant fight because I am not putting any kind of poison in the freaking creek. So there's that. What else is back here? Not a whole lot else. The space behind me over here, we did add a sprinkler over here as well, which was working out really nicely. And we also added a sprinkler that goes up on the hillside so that we can start planting more things for the creek and making sure it's irrigated in the summer, because the bank over there gets full sun and it's very, very dry. So I got a hose and a sprinkler out there. I just need to clear space and plant things so that we can irrigate them. What else? We also added a hose link down here last spring, which has been just not as used as I thought it would be, because we ended up putting the sprinklers in this space. So all of this area got watered without much help. We did use the hose for some of this space, and we certainly used it for the herb garden. Next year, I really want the herb garden to be on a timer with drip irrigation. So that's my goal for this space in 2025. As far as winter interest goes, over here, we have a snowberry, and I need to trim this guy back. But lots and lots of berries on the snowberry this year, which has been super fun. I want to add 2 more in this space to just have more snowberries. And we have this ghost viburnum, which has been blooming since like late November. Tons and tons of blooms, just constantly sending off blooms. So that has been a really fun winter interest in this space. All right, coming up into the upper garden, we planted a couple of blue foliage evergreens. We have this one here, which I forgot the name of. It's a baby. Do I have the tag in here? No, I forgot the name of it. It's super soft, and it will grow about 4 foot tall, 3 foot wide. So it'll show off even more once it's a little bit bigger. And we planted this kind of a ground cover deodar cedar, and when it's new growth, it's more blue. So it's just kind of in the winter stage right now and not as blue, but it has a blue hint. So we did that out here as far as winter interest goes. And then I don't think we did any other winter interest out here. We didn't get any of this irrigated. I do want to get a sprinkler that will cover this whole front area, so that we don't have to be out here hand watering all this. As far as structure goes, we did do a little bit of structure. We're training these lemon cypresses to do this arch deal. We put in this arch. We put in these raised beds. And then we revamped the rose garden so that everything is in lines, more or less, so that irrigation will be a lot easier to do. I told you, it's storming. It knocked over my lighted weeping willow. Okay, there we go. Anyhow, so we have a hose, a hose bib right there. So we'll be bringing a drip irrigation all through the rose garden. I'm going to bring water over to this space and get drip irrigation on the raised beds, the bed behind it, and this maple, as well as these plants here. Everything else can kind of be hand watered. We might bring another hose over to this bed, water this lemon cypress and the weeping cherry, and kind of like this bed. Then as things get structured over on this space, it'll mostly be containers and a patch of annuals and evergreens right here. So I just don't know what the irrigation situation is going to be there. I do know that for this year, we are not going to worry about irrigating our rail containers and hanging baskets. We'll continue to hand water those. But it'll be a big difference just having a sprinkler on this and timed irrigation on the herb garden and irrigation on the rose garden and the raised beds. If we can figure it out, I would really love to have irrigation up in this space because we have a ton of hostas, and they just, like, this whole area is all hostas, and they really thrive in a slow, continuous drip, like consistent drip. So that would be ideal, in my opinion. I actually do have quite a bit of winter interest in the front garden. So really up here, I just want to add more white and more berries. So I do have all of this candy tuft that started blooming a couple of weeks ago. So through December, we have this white sparkle, and then we have the Edgeworthia that's all budded up, which is a really fun winter interest. Of course, we have so many evergreens. They just look absolutely beautiful. We've got the blue juniper, which is showing off this time of year. We've got the blue eucalyptus, which also looks beautiful this time of year. So I would really love to just add more, I don't know what white things that I can do. Maybe it has to be more containers or statues, because I just don't know of shrubs that have white bark that are deciduous. Something to look into. But also more berries. I did buy this kinnikinick, which I want to add more of this kind of thing into this upper garden space. Red and white for winter interest next year. So aside from continuing to structure the garden in a way that's just a lot more cohesive to our lifestyle, a little bit more structured, a lot easier to maintain so that we can travel more and do more things, I really want to include more seating spaces and create more time and space to just sit and be in the garden. But that is basically what we want to do for 2025, is just expand on our goals from 2024 and to create more beautiful spaces, restructure spaces, reimagine different pockets of the garden. And we're so grateful that you are walking along with us as we do this garden journey in our life. And I'm so thankful that you have all been hanging out with us this past year. We look forward to seeing you in more videos, and we hope that you are celebrating your life, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.